Hi, and welcome to UPC Quick Tips. I'm Travis Brandt, Technical Service Rep for UPC Foam. In this week's edition of Quick Tips, we will be discussing the proper changeover between open cell foam and closed cell. Right, so first thing first, we will take our equipment and bleed down all pressure that's in our lines. We will disconnect our air line from our transfer pump system and set it aside for the moment. We want to walk over to the machine, look at the front of it, looking at the gauges, making sure they're both zero on the ISO and the resin side before we do anything with the drum pump or flush valve procedure. Now that we have our end of the hose and the gun back into the rig, we want to make sure we shut our manifold valves. Make sure our safety is set on the gun. Squeeze the trigger for a second, make sure everything's safe before we disconnect our air line. Now we can go ahead and disconnect the end of the gun from the manifold. Set the gun down and open the resin hose over the top of the barrel. At this point, you'll probably see some type of fluid begin to flow, even though the transfer pump is disconnected. That's just pretty normal at this point. Now that we have our end of our hose over the bucket, we will take the transfer line hose that we disconnected earlier from our transfer pump, connect it to our air manifold valve that is in line with our transfer pump hose. We will begin by pushing air into this manifold valve. Once I open the ball valve, it's going to push the air forward, which is going to push the chemical out of the end of the hose and into our bucket. Now we hear it moving forward. We can hear the air pushing, and it will be pushing chemical out of the end of the hose up until I shut this ball valve off again. One thing that is important when you're doing this step is make sure you walk over to your machine and open the B-side recirculation valve and make sure you dump all of the chemical that was existing in the lines back into the drum that you're coming out of. At this point, since we have all of the old resin evacuated out of the lines, we can shut our ball valve for our air system, remove the air line, set it aside, and get ready to move our transfer pump from our open cell foam to our closed cell foam barrel. Now that we have the transfer pump and the recirculation lines set up in the closed cell drum, we will make sure that our B-side manifold valve is closed on our spray foam machine. We will then walk over to our air line and connect our transfer pump to the air line, in which the transfer pump will begin to cycle and push fluid forward and out the end of the hose. Now that the transfer pump is pushing fluid forward, once it gets to the end of the hose, coming out of the end of the manifold where the gun goes, we will want to ensure that we have about a half a gallon of material that flows through the end of the hose before we shut the manifold valve. And once it's flown that much, shut the valves. You can reconnect your spray foam gun, reconnect your air lines, and pressure up and get ready to go. Thank you for joining us. We hope this UPC Quick Tip will help you maximize your skills. See you next time, and happy spraying.